Today, I'm going to teach you how to create a neon sign in Photoshop. Hey guys, it's Connor here from Quick Edits. Today, we're going to be looking at how to create this neon sign effect in Photoshop just by using the text tool and some layer styles. I'll talk you through it step by step. Let's just jump in from the beginning. Okay, so I'm going to start this video by working on the background first. Now, I already know that I want my sign stuck on this brick wall here. I want to turn in nighttime as well. So I'm going to turn this dark first, and then hopefully the glow from our neon sign will illuminate the whole scene and it'll look pretty realistic as well. I'm also going to be adding some fine details to the image, like some wires and maybe a junction box, just to really push the realism in this image. Okay, so let's make a start. I've got my background image here. I got this image off Shutterstock. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to find whatever image you want to use online as well. So let's just start by unlocking this layer here. Okay. Now, this brick wall effect is pretty much shot in daylight, so we want to change that straight away. So I'm just going to head straight down to the bottom here, and I'm going to add in an adjustment layer, and I'm going to put in a black and white filter first. That's done that, and before we move on, we're going to add one more, and I'm going to this time add a curves adjustment, and then on our curves graph here, I'm just going to drag it down to make it dark enough as if it was shot at night. That's looking good there. Perfect. Maybe a little bit too dark, but we'll change that later on. Okay, so let's group these layers. Right now, this is our background, so I've highlighted them all. I'm going to put them into a group, and I'm just going to name this background, BG for background. I'm going to leave that there. Okay, so let's start with our text. I'm going to use in a font here. It's called Rotterdale. I'll leave it down in the description for you to download yourselves. And we're just going to quickly put in, quick edits. Now, this is the text we're going to be using for our neon effect. I am going to turn it white. Just double click on the T here and then change the color to white. I'm going to position it on my screen. I think that's pretty good there, dead in the center, and we can move on to start changing this text to make it look like a neon sign. Now, we're going to do the majority of this done with layer styles. So we're going to just, over here on the right side of this layer, just double click there, and this is going to open our layer style window. So let's open this here and zoom in onto our text next to it. There we go. Now, if you've seen a neon sign before, the inner tubing is usually pretty much white, and everything around it is where the color comes as the glow. But there are some elements of color just on the edges of the piping. Our piping is our text here. So we're going to use the inner glow section. That's this one here. All you have to do is click on it, and it's automatically going to add it on. It's given us a pretty good representation of the glow on the inside of our tubing, and it's selected a nice color for us. Yeah, this fuchsia pink is looking pretty good. That's going to be the color of our sign here. Let me just zoom in slightly so we can see better at the inner glow. Now, make sure you're set to edge. If you set it to center, the glow is going to start from the center. So make sure you're set to edge, and that's going to give us this gradient. Now we can go in and start changing some of these dials here, especially with the choke and the size. Make sure the choke and the size aren't too overpowering. You don't want your size too high there, and I think the size is pretty much good there. So I've set my choke to 7, and I've set my size to 24. Yours may be different because of the size of your image, and especially because you might use a different font as well. So let's just zoom out to take another look. That's looking pretty good there. Now, it's important to make sure your blend mode is set to normal as well. Also, your opacity isn't too high. If you give it too high, you are going to give it too much of an overpowering there. So I'm going to bring it down a little bit to where it was. Maybe, yeah, 70 looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. Okay, let's zoom out. And now we can start adding our glows. Now, the way we're going to add glows onto our neon sign is through layers. And we're going to add the first glow. The first glow is going to be the closest one to our sign, and it's going to be the most powerful one there. And to do that, we're going to add on a outer glow. And you can see by clicking there, it's already done a pretty good, powerful glow. Let's zoom in a little bit onto our sign. Now let's just play around with some of these settings here. We want to be able to keep the white in the center there. So we don't want to take it too far. Again, let's zoom out. Maybe a little bit more size. And I think that's looking good. Make sure, guys, your blend mode is set to normal and your opacity is high enough. I think that's looking good. Okay guys, so my choke is set to 9% and the size to 21 pixels. Again, yours might be different. And that's our first layer of glow done there. Now our second glow layer, we're going to use drop shadow on this one. Now usually when you click on drop shadow, I don't know if you can see it here. Let me just turn it on and off. You can see that it usually darkens what's behind it because it is a shadow, but we're going to use it as a glow. So first off, let's get our fuchsia pink back. Right up top there, click OK. And our opacity is at 100. Now let's just start working on the spread. So this one is going to be a spread a lot further than our first glow. It's the size that we're going to be playing with here. That's looking pretty good there. I'm pretty pleased with that. Again guys, let's turn the distance down to 0. If you have the distance too high, it's going to just push it down into one direction. So we're going to keep it on 0 there. And this time, where we've left it on normal on our blend mode before, we're going to change it so they start affecting the brick wall behind it. And I think we should use color dodge on this one. I think that'll give us a pretty... Yeah, there we go. So that's affecting the bricks as well. We got some of the details, some of the darker areas of the bricks coming through using color dodge. Now, I think our opacity is a little bit too high. I think we're losing quite a bit of detail. So I'm just going to bring this down, not too much, maybe around 70. And that's going to bring some of the brick detail back into our image. And I think that's pretty good. I'm set it to 74 there. So my size is set to 226 pixels. Now that's pretty high because the image I started off with, which is our background brick layer, is quite a large image. So if you're using a smaller image, then your size will be a lot smaller. But for me, this is where we're going to be working at, and I'm just going to click OK for now. Now you can see that our text layer has all our effects attached onto it. You can see it here, and we can still go in and turn these on or off. So I can turn them all off by clicking the eye on the effects, and that's going to bring us back to our original white text. Or I can go in and turn off individual effects, like the inner glow, the outer glow, and our drop shadow. Now we're still not done with our glow. I still want to add one more behind effect in the bricks. This time we're going to be using our brush tool on a new layer. So let's add on our new layer. Click the icon here and make sure your layer is underneath your text but above your background. You're going to select B for your brush tool, and I'm going to bring my brush slightly smaller. I'm using my open and close brackets to size up and down the brush. I'm going to make sure my color is selected. I'm using a lighter color pink that we'll be using so that we can have a realistic fall off as it hits the bricks behind the text. And now I'm just going to size down. Now before I click, I want to change my blending mode down to overlay. And we're just going to add on a glow here, and we're just going to start painting behind our text. And you can see where that's working there. Brilliant. I'm just going to bring it down, and I'm going to bring it above as well. That's looking really good there. I'm really pleased with that. Now there's just a couple more things I want to do to our image here, just to add in a bit more realism. Now if you've seen a neon sign, they do have wires connecting each of the elements, so we're going to add them in as realistic as we can. So for now, I'm going to hide our brush layer, and I'm going to hide all the effects that we've put on to our text. So we're back to this, and we're going to start adding in some wires here, just using our brush. So I'm going to select brush, I'm going to press B, I'm going to make a new layer. Make sure, again, we're underneath our text, and I'm going to select B for our brush. This time I want our wires to be black. So I'm going to set the color to black, and I'm going to size down our brush, and I'm also going to bring the hardness back up as well. Right now it's down to 0. I'm going to bring this back up to 100% there, okay? Oh, Command-Z there. Let's zoom in here and see where we want to add in our wires. So I think that size brush is decent enough, and we're just going to start doing some wires. Right now, we don't really need to worry about what they're looking like. Just going to add in some wires between some of the elements, just like this, as if they're all connected, and I think that looks pretty decent. Now we are going to be adding some more wires shortly, off screen as well, and maybe hanging from above. But for now, this is going to look pretty good. Now let's focus on this one here, this one between the Q and the U. Now just like we did before with the layer styles on our text, we're going to double click on the right side of this layer, and this is where we're going to be adding on a bevel just to get a highlight above our wires here. So let's play around with some of the settings here. I think the soften needs to come down. You can see that that's giving us a pretty decent highlight there. Maybe the size, I think the size is fine where it is. Let's look at depth. We don't want it too prominent, but I think that looks pretty good there. Let's just check the other ones. It's just giving the effect of a 3D wire between the elements. Let's zoom out a little bit. Now I do want to add a drop shadow onto these as well. So right now it saved our drop shadow as what we added onto our text, which is fuchsia pink. Obviously we don't want that, so we're going to set that back to black. We're going to bring our size all the way down. Let's just look at this wire here again. And this time we're going to be affecting the distance. So again, bring the spread and size all the way down, and we're just going to look at the distance here. Don't forget, guys, our blending mode is still set to color dodge, and because we're set to black, we won't be able to see it. So we're going to bring that back to normal, bring our opacity back up to 100, and with the distance, you can just see where it is going to be landing there. And I think that position there is fine. Now we can start adjusting the spread and the size, just like that. And I'm going to bring the opacity down ever so slightly towards 80 there. And that's just going to give us a shadow hitting our brick wall from our wires. I'm going to click OK. And let's bring our effects back on from our text. And you can see underneath our glow now, we've got some wires connecting all our elements. Because we've already done the settings for our neon effect, we can add in other elements, and all we have to do is copy all the layer styles and put it onto our new elements. This time I want a circular element around our text, so let's select our ellipse tool. I'm going to set our fill to nothing, and I'm going to bring our stroke. I'm going to get a white stroke around 12 pixels. Let's see what that does. So I'm just going to click in the center there. I'm going to hold Option and Shift. That's going to give us a perfect circle from the center, just around there. And maybe our stroke is a little bit too thick, so I'm just going to bring that down a little bit. Because we've used a shape tool, it's already added it on a new layer for us. So let's bring this one above our text. Now we've already got all our settings here for a glow. So with our text, click on it, right click, and you can copy layer style. We're going to copy it, go back to our circle and right click, and we can paste our layer styles, and that's going to give us a glow straight away. Now I am going to go in to our layer styles, and I'm just going to adjust our inner glow here. As you can see, because our circle is thinner than our text, we're not getting much white here, so I'm just going to start changing this a little bit. And that looks pretty good. So I've set the choke to 2% and our size to 3 pixels. Let's zoom out. Let's click OK. And this time we want our wires to be attached to our outer circle as well. So let's go back down to our wires. I'm just going to double click that and call that wires. Now we're attached onto that. We can go back to our brush tool. Because we've already set our effects onto our wire, whenever we draw one out, it's automatically going to give us the wire effect that we put on before. Just like that, maybe. Just going to put these in different locations. Attaching all the different elements. And that's looking great right there. Now I just want to add a couple more wires above the circle as if it's hanging from something. Just going to use a brush again. Again, it's not going to be perfect, but that there gives the effect as if it's hanging from maybe another sign or maybe connected inside the building. And that's looking really good there. I'm really pleased with that. Just before the end of the video, guys, I just want to add maybe a little more color to our edges here. If you remember, we added on an extra glow, which we've hidden. So let's bring that back. Now I'm looking at this, I'm thinking it's a little bit more overpowering than I thought before. So I'm just going to click on it and bring the opacity down as well, just to give the impression onto the further bricks here. Now on this same layer, I'm going to get my brush tool again. I'm going to size it up and I'm going to set the hardness down. Let's size it up. This time I'm going to change the color and let's add maybe a blue. And we're going to just make an impression as if our sign is maybe next to another sign. I'm just going to start painting that in there. And maybe on this side as well. Great stuff, and I'm really pleased with how this has turned out, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please drop a like and let me know down in the comments what you'd like to see next. Thank you very much. Bye.